Yeah, she said Bree from Turtle Island. It was in the message thing for
How do
you.
you spell her name? B-R-I-E? Bree?
Bree, yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the next. Is there any changes, deletions, or of the agenda?
Hazel, do we have the community tuned in?
It's got live on my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually Mark's checks to see.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, is there any changes or deletions? If not, we'll adopt the agenda.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved by Carrie and second by Michelle. There was no delegations or presentations this morning. Let's move on to the adoption of the general finance minutes of May the 16th, 2021. Not 21, it should be 22. That's an error right there. It should be 2022. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move. It's Wendy.
Moved by Wendy, seconder.
I'll second. Sherry Lynn.
Sherry Lynn, seconder. All in favor? Motion is carried. I see no concerns about that. Okay, let's move on to pardon?
Good morning, Hazel. Sorry, my apologies. I just signed in.
Oh, good, Mark. I'm glad you're here. Mark, we're down at number 5 on the general finance agenda.
Okay, I can assume chair from this point if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate that. So number 5 is the fire and emergency services. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the recommendation you see page 5, looking to mover seconder questions, comments. I believe this item was deferred already. We have our fire chief on the line. Maybe just before I go to mover and seconder, I can get a backgrounder, Ashley, to this item, and then I'll look to any questions, comments.
Great, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, just a quick background to the briefing note that was provided forward prior to the last meeting. Through the COVID experience, through the shift of transition without a fire chief here, we had some deferred amounts of money from minor capital that ended up not being deferred ultimately. So as a result, we had a total amount of, I'm just looking it up here, $275,000 to move from last year's minor capital to this year's minor capital due to the inability to purchase a truck and to get finalized pricing through the COVID pandemic. We have some options on the table now, but we're ultimately looking to have that amount deferred from last year's minor capital to this year's minor capital. Hope that works, unless you'd like a little bit more information.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks, Ashley. I'm going to look to questions, comments. I see Wendy has her hand raised.
Thanks, Mark. So yeah, I had asked some questions about this. One was because that money, and I don't know where the 275 is, but it says $245,000. But so, and the documentation doesn't show 275. So just a question about that, but.
Would you like me to answer that question? Sorry, Wendell, would you like me to answer that question now, or should we go forward?
I'd like to finish my question first, if that's okay. So I had asked at the last presentation of this agenda, the $65,000 to do the repairs of the fire station. What's the rationale for taking that money away from that? Do our fire stations not need any repairs or updates? That's one question. And the other question was, there's absolutely no documentation about the light truck. What is it? What is it used for? And I think we had asked for, council had asked for information about the existing equipment that you have, being vehicles and other things. And when I went through the information, there's nothing. It's just the same information that was provided at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I can go back and start with the first question there. So I'm going to say my apologies for the misamount. So the current status was looking for a budget amount of $275,000. The recommendation at the bottom, shown on the briefing note, was to have an amount of $245,000 moved from 2022-23, from 2021-22 into the 22-23 amount. So that was my mistake on the 275. That was the budget amount that we were looking to work within for the light rescue truck. Second question there was just in regards to the repairs. So as many of you may be aware of, through the transition of not having a fire chief in place at that time, we did have what we had been called a financial freeze for any spending within the department until a fire chief was allocated at that time. So there was very limited spending, if any at all whatsoever, made within the fire services here. As a result, we ended up with an underspent budget last year for the 2021-2022, and therefore advised by finance to utilize station repairs out of the amount that was underspent at that time. So as a result, we have spent approximately $50,000 in station upgrades within that budget allowance that we had to work with in this last fiscal year. And it was just not taken and utilized from the dollars that were awarded in the minor capital. So as a result, we ended up with the leftover. And there is a little bit of more information I can provide to that, but I will kind of just leave that off until further questions come through. Lastly, your third question, just regarding the trucks. I can provide, so I wasn't sure if it was to be provided in terms of a full layout, in terms of the assets list that we do have. That is something that's kind of been listed for a period of time and is available. I know that Mike Montour does handle the assets within the entire fleet with all of their information, but I can provide basic information on this truck. The minor capital request to purchase a light rescue truck. So a light rescue truck is ultimately our utility vehicle that is a catch-all for us. So it's not a large apparatus. It would be a mid-sized, like a larger, let's just call it like a Ford F-550. So a heavy-duty truck that allows us to run and utilize it for medicals, wildland fires, any specific technical rescues. It does not carry a large amount of personnel, but it does have all sorts of technical equipment that we would carry on it. Right now, we are utilizing a vehicle that is, I believe, let me just double check here, about a 20, I'm just seeing if I have that info in front of me. We have a Ford F-250 that is getting up there in age and starting to show some more signs of needing maintenance. Maintenance expenses are starting to go up now based on its age, and I believe that one is a 2016 pickup truck. So that is the replacement that we would be looking for with this light rescue. This was approved for the light rescue amount with minor capital back in 2020 for the 2021 year purchase. So we just have not made that purchase in the last, well, ultimately it's turned, we're now in the third fiscal that this has not been purchased, and that was prior to my time. I hope that answers some questions.
So Mark, can I just ask the subsequent for clarity?
Sure, go for it, Wendy, and I'll go to Michelle.
So just for clarity, so the fire department has completed upgrades and repairs to the fire stations already in the amount of $50,000, and that suffices. No other upgrades or repairs are needed to our fire station. So just yes or no on that one. The second question in terms of the vehicle. So this is purchase of a vehicle plus it includes the technical equipment needed, correct? So that changes the understanding of that and the interpretation. Yep. So it's not just buying a truck at, $80,000. It's the technical equipment that increases the price, correct?
That's I can give a little bit more background to that, but the short answer is no. So the truck that, when we purchase a truck that has the name as a rescue vehicle, or a light rescue in this case, it has to meet, as per best practice, the NFPA, or National Fire Prevention or Protection Association guidelines, in order to be utilized as a vehicle for the fire services. We always make the joke that as soon as you add that title to it, it obviously doubles and triples in price. This is by no means just a truck that comes off of the lot. This is a specialized built product for the fire services, with the cab capabilities, basically to fit the number of people, radios that are in there, obviously that we consider as part of the apparatus, the communications abilities of it, and of course the storage and weight abilities as well. When you purchase one of these trucks, it comes as a full unit. You ultimately spec out what specific items should be on the truck and where they may need to go, and the amount of spaces that wouldn't be needed for that. This does not include the specific equipment. This is the reason why I want to say more about that. It does not include the equipment that we would put on there. It is basically the truck itself as a light rescue vehicle. So if it required if we put additional hoses on there, any equipment, hand tools, specialized tools, that is all stuff that we are currently utilizing across other trucks and within our car 3 that we have here right now. This is just the actual apparatus, or the unit, the vehicle itself. And sorry, if you don't mind repeating what that other question was, I just drew blank on that other question of yours. Oh, I think I've remembered it now. Just regarding the repairs. Across the board, we have a large number of repairs that are utilized, and we have I have identified this within our FNIP request that we work with Mike Montour across the board, well exceeding the $50,000 or $70,000 allotment that was in this request from a few years back. These were minor repairs that were looking to be done, that have been done and are continually being assessed across the board from an O&M standpoint. This amount was specifically requested for a truck back in 2020 or 2019, 2020, and I'm ultimately just trying to move that forward to its completion.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ashley, for your responses to Councilor Wendy's questions. I have Michelle in queue next.
Very similar questions. I guess for me, I'd like to know the fleet, because I would really think that the station over by IL should be fixed. I would like to know if we have 3 trucks already, this would then be a 4th, or is it replacing that 3rd one?
We do not have any trucks that this would be replacing, or sorry, I shouldn't say that. This is replacing a Ford F-250 heavy duty pickup truck that it is replacing in the fleet. That truck could be repurposed, say for instance, as a plow truck, for instance. That was one thing that we've been talking with ambulance, is to put a plow on it so it can do maintenance for us. But ultimately, this truck is not replacing or in addition to any additional services. This truck is specifically for its utility purpose of running. It would be our vehicle that goes to all medicals, our wildland support vehicle and wildland fire vehicle, as well as technical rescue specifically. We do not currently have anything that's able to meet all those needs in the fleet, other than our F-250, which is aging out at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I was anticipating that because council's been asking for the fleet and everything you have, because I mean, we all see it. And so because I'm sure there's other equipment that fights fires. Do you have everything that is needed to actually?
We're pretty close in terms of equipment. At this point now, I mean, we have one other truck that is being replaced. That is a 651. That is our it's our oldest vehicle in the fleet. As per NFPA guidelines, the National Fire Prevention that I mentioned previously. Sorry if I just keep saying NFPA. As soon as an apparatus meets a 20-year lifespan, so the larger fire trucks, as soon as they hit 20 years, they are deemed no longer fit for service, and they are to be replaced at that time. in many cases prior to 2017 with this department, most of our apparatus were beyond that age. So the other vehicle that we have recently sought funding through Indigenous Services Canada that is currently parked outside has now met its 20-year lifespan, and as if their commitment to making sure that we have the proper equipment, we are now at a point where we are simply replacing these trucks as they become of age. After this truck has been replaced, not 651, sorry, this is one of our large apparatus. As soon as it is replaced, we will then have 3 vehicles, which are our 3 apparatus that are in our outlying halls, that they will be coming of their age in the next 2 years. And we've already made plans and have started the funding process to make sure that we have funding in place to replace those vehicles when they age out. Once that happens, we are in an extremely good place in terms of the ability to fight fire and the equipment we have to fight fire, because our oldest vehicle at that point would then be 2017. Therefore, we have a good, let's just call it a 12 to 15 years before we would need to purchase an additional truck, unless we found that there was a specialized need that we needed in the community. But ultimately, we are just looking to get these trucks up to a level where we have strong working trucks that are reliable and are not costing us a lot of money in additional expenses simply due to their age.
Okay. And fire station,
Yep.
it's operable, it's
So
Chuck
station 3 is a much larger conversation, which I have requested through our corporate emergency services meeting to discuss. In long story short, we have put out the information to a couple of resources, including insurance in the community here, to look at other options. We are continually faced with the same challenge at this location involving security, vandalism, and ultimately overall safety of those utilizing the station, as well as the vehicles that are there. And that is the main reason for its current closure right now. We cannot safely leave any equipment there, and we cannot safely store any vehicles there or have people operating out of it. And we have been working to find alternate locations that could possibly be discussed. And we are working with ambulance right now. I've had ongoing discussions with Darren Jameson about how we can kind of move this forward. And it has been placed on me at this point now to put together basically a large briefing note to update that information that has been ongoing since 2017. In 2017, during the last FNIP assessment, I guess the submissions to the FNIP forms was to show that security and that location was not a secure and safe place. So that's been being addressed since 2017, and I'm just going to look to provide more information to Chief and Council and to the group involved to show that we are going to need a new station, and it's going to need to be in a different location there than where it currently is.
Okay, thank you, Ashley, for responding to Michelle's questions. And just to note on that piece, it's really, and I'm glad Michelle brought this up in relation to Fire Station 3. It's because it's when there's obviously it's huge impact on areas of this Cayuga Road and 6 Line and so forth, wherever that services. Obviously even yesterday, and again, thoughts and prayers out to the Thomas family. There was a structure fire, so those impacts, obviously the wait times and so forth. So it's really unfortunate that it continues to get vandalized and really destroyed at that station, because it's ultimately impacting the service, I believe, when it comes to this area in that station.
Yeah, thank you,
Just
Steve.
wanted to make those comments.
Absolutely. And I mean, it is something that, I feel that I'm ultimately at a little bit of a stalemate, and I would put this to the table. Maybe this is not the right environment, but ultimately have these discussions more so with some options that we could have for alternate locations. We've got the group at the table who's ready to, you know, to come together, whether it's, when I would say this, I refer to ambulance and ourselves, because they are looking for a location in that area for better response. Also, I would like to put it to the group here for anyone who does have any options, feedback, or considerations on what we could do, because really right now it's a closure due to safety for both our staff and obviously the equipment that's there. And would love to come up with a solution that we could have for the community here, as well as the discussions that we're now having with you know, potential growth here in the department or the community as well, because we are looking to have to serve our larger areas, other areas. Maybe if there's new, I know there's discussion of some new housing that could be going in. These are much larger discussions that I would love to have at this level.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that,
Melba?
Ashley. I see a few more hands being raised. I have Hazel, Sherilyn, and now Melba. I'm going to first begin over with Hazel.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the cost of moving that actual fire station to another location, building a whole new building, etc. That building, I was just wondering, you asked for some suggestions. If you had like the real high wire fence going around it, so nobody could actually crawl in there. I don't know if the vandalism is from a distance, or do they actually get in close and do the damage that they're trying to do? Because I was thinking the high wire fence could even have a fence up there that would shock somebody if they, you know, trying to climb over there. And it could be advertised right on the fence, electric fence, and nobody would want to climb over there to do any damage, because I think the community is going to have to suffer. Like you said, there was a fire yesterday. I don't know about that, but that's one problem already. And then it's going to cost the community another large sum of money to put up another fire hall. So I don't know. It's too bad, because they're living right there. I think everybody knows who does the vandalism in that area. So just my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated. And I agree. And I think the largest challenge that we are faced here is, you know, we have had it identified directly to us and reported to police on many occasions. You know, this is ultimately a land dispute. That's what this comes down to at the end of the day. We do have costs associated with as well as designs, and we'd even had previous kind of attempts to find adequate property in the area. And that's why these discussions with ambulance, for example, has been very great. They're looking to want to share a location and space with us. We have those designs already made. We have approximate budget costs, or how much it would cost to do so. It's just a matter of us being able to find a land and location that would be in that area that we could then start that process and then address whatever funding needs are in place. But ultimately, I think we could make many steps, and we have made many steps to protect that fire station. But unfortunately, it's under attack on a regular basis, and we just haven't quite found that answer as of yet.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. I have Sherilyn next, and then over to Melba. Sherilyn.
Yeah, and I guess that's the whole thing, I think, with the options. And for sure, this has been on the table for a while. And I think, yes, we do need to talk about this and come together with options. And maybe you need to talk with Darren and what properties are available for this to happen if you have all the designs and everything, so we can get this moving. And it needs, our people need to get service down there. That's the bottom line. And I don't know about this new truck versus a new building. I'm having trouble with that. Because that part of the community has been without service, and that's not fair. And they need the same services as everybody else. And if the ambulance wants to be there also, that is great to hear. And we need to start getting on everybody on board with this and getting it moving as soon as possible. Because again, there was a fire on the weekend and I'm not sure what the timing or anything was, but I just feel that this building is high priority compared to a fire truck at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
Well, I'll look to, oh, sorry, Ashley, did you have any further response to Shirley?
I was just acknowledging it and ultimately saying, yes, it's a large need in the community here. I mean, we are going to be looking at having to replace the vehicle that we are looking at regardless. Whether where it sits on the priority is what is in question ultimately. In terms of the fire and response in this time, because our full-time crews are here full-time, our response time is very similar to that of a volunteer response in the area. But obviously, it's the additional supports where we gain by having those additional trucks and volunteers able to respond in those further out areas in the community. And this is a challenge right across the board. Unfortunately, we had another structure fire. We had a very busy weekend with 2 structure fires with 2 losses in the community in terms of homes this weekend. And they were ultimately at the far reaches of either end of the community here. One being Bateman and Second Line, and then this one just the other day yesterday on Cayuga. So I mean, our response times are really strong, and anything that we can do to increase those would be great. And as you mentioned, we are looking at options, and I would like to discuss funding options, and I could probably even start seeking greater funding options once we are able to establish if we have a location that we can place one of these departments. It is a responsibility of, or let's just call it a goal of Indigenous Services Canada to be able to provide and assist with those stations. So I could always go down that road and look into additional funding as well to make that happen. But this amount, as I've said before, I'm ultimately working off of a deferred amount from previous years prior to my tenure in this position, and just looking to close that out as it is a need that we do have in the department as we currently speak as well.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. And just a side note and comment. And again, obviously with the loss of home, I know even with my situation, Melba's situation, I think that even further drives the importance of looking on how we could even look to, I don't know if it could be subsidized or what, but getting creative in a sense of allowing or assisting our members or making sure that our members have insurance. I think that's the other piece too, is you work so hard for all of your things, but obviously we know it can get costly. And there's, I think there's some times or scenarios where, sometimes people got to choose, to put food on the table or to pay insurance premiums for, house insurance. So I just think that just on a side note, I don't need a response, but for a bigger conversation, want to bring this back to see, just to make sure that everybody, I think that was something that, goal wise, making sure that everybody, has house insurance. I have Melba in queue next.
Yes, thank you, Ashley, for bringing, and Michelle for bringing this station forward. I think the community has been very anxious as to what is happening there. And I guess you're going to have a move, which sounds like what's in order concerning the damages prior. So I thank you very much. And hopefully that word would get out to the community. But I think if you need to put an ad in the paper as opposed to banned land, for example, I think people would come forward. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I think that's a great option. And to be honest, I'd be lying if I said I have been at a standstill, not sure how to proceed with that. I think that's a great idea to look at those options and put that out to the community, as I'm sure many of the community would back and support an initiative like this. So I do think that's a great idea. and I appreciate your support in that. Oh, sorry. In addition to that, the comment I just wanted to make is that yes, you're true. I think a move is going to be needed, and I'm sorry that sidetracked me, and I can't remember what I was just about to say. So I'll move on from there.
Okay, thanks, thanks, Ashley, for that. I have a few more hands being raised. I have Sherilyn, Wendy, and Michelle. Sherilyn, you have the floor.
No, I'm good, Chief.
Oh, my apologies. Okay, thanks. Wendy.
Thanks, Mark. And I appreciate that this is going to go to a vote, but I think for me, I interpret this that we're being asked to agree to prioritize the purchase of a light truck over dealing with the fire station that's much needed and any other repairs. So, in good conscience for me, I don't see the rationale. I don't see the information provided to make that prioritization. And I think the money should be used to that new station because, weighing out what's the risk and what's the balance, for fires in that area, in that zone, what's needed more access to that fire hall, and then making sure it has the right equipment, of course. And not having the information about the fleet, like what do we currently have? Certainly appreciate the fire chief's expertise in this area. This is why he's in the position he's in, but I just don't see the rationale to make that priority in the community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Wendy, for my apologies. Michelle.
Again, I mean, talking about the station, have you looked at environmental design? Councillor Hazel Johnson gave you an idea. Like, to me, I do think the station is our priority. So I find that we jump to, okay, we need a new building, but have we exhausted all those options? Because if we're looking to move with ambulance, like, should we have people, we have enough staff now, correct? Could people be at the building 24/7? So then you have a 1-minute response rate as opposed to the 10 minutes to get there, get in the truck. So have we exhausted all our options?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. And I'm going to say ultimately the very clear answer to that is no. I am understanding that the position and relocation of Station 3 specifically has been on the docket and been brought to council and to different tables for multiple times since 2017. I'm continually finding documents that would support that this has been something that's been discussed, but it hasn't really been moved forward. And since stepping into this position 8 months ago, I'm looking at this going, I'm not 100% sure where it stands and what work has been done and who has been, who these discussions have been had with prior to my time. So I would love to offer up a recommendation or a suggestion, once again, from whether it needs to be at the corporate emergency services level or greater, to bring together a small group of key players in this for this situation to address. I feel that we've got a siloed approach that's taken place, whether it's me speaking with David Sky with ambulance and then with say for instance one of the insurance providers. We've had those discussions and then just very back and forth with Darren as well. I'd like to turn to this group for best next steps to meet with those stakeholders to make these actions happen, and I can support them in any way, shape, or form. I think we have needs across the board, whether it's staffing, whether it's the stations, whether it's the equipment itself. As per NFPA recommendations and guidelines, the entire community, based on its size, is underserviced. You made a great comment there saying, we're looking at 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes kind of idea to get to each area or quadrant that I like to call them of the community. That is the expectation. Anything outside of the 7 minutes is very much a salvage situation for us. We either we get very lucky and we can save the home outside of 7 minutes, or it's a total loss. So anytime that we can position crews around the community at these unmanned stations will provide us better coverage for our community members and better safety for all of them. So I really look to have that conversation and turn to this group for any suggestions for next steps for us to meet and have that greater discussion.
Okay, appreciate that.
Can I just,
Exactly.
sorry, Chief, can I just add?
Their follow-up.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I think as we evolve, that's exactly it, right? You should be bringing that forward to full council for those discussions, indicating, you know, I know how long it takes to get from one end to the territory to the next. So what's the plan? So to me, that information should all come forward from you as a fire chief, and that's how we make those decisions moving forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Michelle. I will work with Darren Jameson to ensure that process is brought forward adequately. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michelle and Ashley, for all your responses. I'm going to look to any further questions or comments in relation to this motion.
Okay, it's Melba. Yeah, can I ask Ashley again to explain what exactly he has in that truck, as opposed to building planning with Darren how this is going to be approached for a new fire hall? How would you explain what is needed most?
Thank you. I think the easiest way for me to approach it, and I apologize if it's rather just plain and simple. In my eyes, it's just a matter of funding and location. To be honest with you, when I look at a truck this day and age, with the price of everything that's going on, they're expensive no matter how we look at it. The construction costs are extremely high compared to what they used to be across the board as well. It would be a difference for me of looking at, you know, replacing a vehicle that is going to need to be replaced anyway because we don't have the adequate support vehicle. And this one is the one that we're currently utilizing is starting to cost us more and more money as it ages. This specific truck would give us the ability to not only replace the vehicle and respond with medicals, it also gives us a very a strong support and response to wildland fires and anything that we're seeing in the large, you know, grass fires and whatnot that we are seeing an increased number of due to the weather and environment that we're dealing with. It's as well as its capabilities to get to places that our larger trucks cannot get to. So that is the goal of a light rescue. It's a heavy duty truck that has the ability to ultimately go anywhere with the resources that we need, both personnel and the equipment that would have on it. When I compare that to what would need to go into the planning and the you know, let's just call it the planning for a new vehicle, or sorry, for a new station. The station is, we're looking at probably this day and age, $1 million, $1.5 million plus the planning that we have already in place for that. So the designs for the station, and you know, kind of the response areas and the justification for those response areas. I believe I have a very good portion of that information already completed within my predecessor's files, as well as some new updates that we have. But ultimately, I'm looking at it as one is let's just call it a $1.5 million project, and the other is let's call it a $300,000 project. Both are going to need to be done. And both will have different resources and different funding that will need to go into them, and from different resources, and are both a priority. I'm simply looking at one that was already on the list, was already approved from like 2 years ago, that was looking to have taken care of, as well as now I'm in a position where we can put forward a great conversation about these stations and the long-term goal and plans of fire protection in the community here. So I do look at it as two different things, but that's obviously me and being a little bit biased from our standpoint. But it's a difference in the end of the day to me between $300,000 and $1.5 million. And I'd still, you know, I'd love to have those discussions further.
Yeah, thank you very much. And once again, I think we have to listen to our staff and how they're looking at it and what the needs are. And as he's explained, this has already been in the planning, and now it's time to plan further for the new station and where it will be relocated. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Melba for looking to that question as well in terms of being clear of the understanding of this particular motion and the questions that have arisen. Is there any further questions or comments in relation to this motion?
Mark, it's Wendy. I don't want to belabor the discussion here, but I thought I heard Ashley answer Michelle's question by saying that he hasn't looked at other options as suggested by Hazel and others. So I'm not sure where the 1.5 million number came from for a new structure. I think there's a lot more work that has to be done on this, and I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. And I think that when I was referring to Hazel's comments there, it was other options for protecting the current structure that's there. The suggestions that were put forward were electrified fence, for example, being an option. And it was afterwards then put forward that, we see this as a land dispute issue, not necessarily an outside issue, which makes it more challenging for us. The $1.5 million is based on the information and data that has already been collected and I believe already been put forward in terms of requests for funding in the past, when we consider the costs of the design, the build, and what would need to go into that station. Though that data has already been collected, and I have from my predecessors prior. So I hope that clarifies a little further.
Okay, thanks, Wendy and Ashley. Again, I think this has been a good, thorough discussion. And good points raised on both fronts. I think at the end of the day, this elected council, and the work that they've done in terms of, because we know that this is obviously, the fire hall is, it's off territory. It's usually tax based, which we don't have here. And so I think that's something that, again, we need to look at in a bigger discussion of just really priorities and prioritizations of different initiatives and so forth. Nathan, and then Hazel.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. And I agree. This is a good discussion. May I ask that we defer both this item as well as the discussion on the importance of response times and locating kind of that new fire station and bring it back to corporate and emergency. Just to have that kind of strategic pathway developed for both priorities. I'm hearing some hesitation in terms of moving forward with one versus the other, where there is a natural kind of structure within our governance to have strategic discussions like this. And bring back further options that'll ease people's minds. And that way, we get the equipment that we need within our community. And also we get the fire station that we need in our community. Because I think this isn't a one versus the other. This is how best do we prioritize our needs and spend the money that we have allocated, not only from deferred revenue, but also from this year's budgets going forward. So I think we would benefit all from having that discussion of corporate emergency in terms of both discussions. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that, Nathan. I think that's a good suggestion as well, just based upon the conversation and the comments made and so forth. I have Hazel in queue next.
I think with the needs of both of these items, because I think the fire station really has to keep up to date with their equipment to service the entire reserve. But I also understand the need to get this station back up and running. And the comparison of the two items, like the truck being 275, and then the need for the new fire station restructuring or whatever you have to do to it, is over $1 million. Now, I don't know how soon anybody could get $1 million to fix it. So, and I think regardless if this truck is purchased now, that building still has to be brought back up to its standard and be utilized now, because waiting just, as you can see, costs people their homes. So I know it's hard to make a decision here, but myself, I'm going to say that I'd like to see them get the truck that's going to service the whole reserve right now. And still, we need to be looking to get funding to fix that fire hall up ASAP as well. So I'll move on that resolution. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Melba.
thanks. Well, I think you've raised some really valid points. There's a motion on the floor. It's to move that again to approve the reallocation. It's moved by Hazel and seconded by Melba. Are there any further questions or comments in relation to the motion itself?
Chief, can I give
Sorry,
sorry, it's Ashley Russell Taylor. Do you mind if I give one quick point?
Sure.
Yeah,
Go for it, Ashley.
I just wanted to put it forward as well. And this has been one of the largest challenges, that even if I had have purchased this truck when the briefing note and the initial funds were allocated for minor capital back in 2021, we still wouldn't have seen that truck yet. They're an 18 to 22 month delivery time. We are in the queue to have that happen right now for one of said trucks. Basically, they're all the same from all the different manufacturers, and to the extent of the cost of the truck. So I just wanted to put it forward that we are looking at probably another let's just call it 16 months before we would see this truck, no matter what we did. So I'm just thinking that's a little bit of a balancing point as well, where I wouldn't have been able to utilize that money. We don't pay until it's delivered. So even if I had to purchase that truck back in 2020, we would be here having this conversation right now as well. So just to balance that out a little bit.
Okay, thanks for that, Ashley. Are there any other further questions or comments? Again, it's been moved and seconded. I just want to check in really quickly. I thought I seen Michelle, your hand go up and then down. Not sure if you had any further questions or comments.
Oh, I thought Ashley said it's a land issue. And so have we spoken to Lands and Membership? So I was wondering if there's diligence done on that end. But that's for the repair of the station. That's all the work I would say needs to happen before we go and build a brand new station, right?
Absolutely. Michelle, if I can make a comment to that, it's been brought to the attention of Lands and Management, I believe. And the extent of the information that I have is that we have the CP utilizing and showing what, what responsibilities of the landowner and the landowner being us at this point, as long as it's being used for fire services, that it would continue to be ours and held by the fire service and the band, I guess, ultimately. But like I said, if the family members are not in agreement with that, it is absolutely a land challenge that we're going to see, and steps beyond having that CP have not necessarily been taken by me personally, because I'm unaware of those next steps, and that's why I look to this group for support and next steps with that.
It's Melba.
Okay, thanks, Ashley and Michelle for your question and response. I think again, there's two things. It's not a versus item. It's how do we get both of these items, completed and a quick time frame. I think another important piece in terms of what Hazel's brought up is the timing of this, regardless of us moving quickly on the building as well. It kind of sounds like we still have to, just out of this motion discussion, have to come up with a thorough plan in quick, swift action to get that plan implemented to get a new building up as quickly as possible. So there's a few points I think being made equally. But again, I do see the value in terms of, I know what the current struggle of the ordering of these trucks and the wait times there, and those pieces. So I think there's, at the end of the day, there's more work on each of our ends to make sure that we're seeing all priorities get actionized swiftly. I see Nathan had his hand up, and then over to Melba. Nathan, you have the floor.
Yeah, it just, for me, it just feels like we're doing kind of a one versus the other by piecemealing the motions. And I was just hoping that from an equipment standpoint, as well as a building standpoint, and operations, I like to see things clean in that total plan presented, which is why I suggested we not piecemeal this, but actually take a strategic approach through corporate and emergency while it's still there, to come up with that entire plan, because I don't separate equipment, training, and buildings in terms of taking a strategic approach on something like this. I would rather have that full plan presented, and then make those decisions. So just going to ask again if we can look at that as a possible avenue, and kind of take it from there.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. And and I know I'm recognizing the chat as well. I will look to close this discussion. It's been quite thorough, and look to the vote. Again, it's been moved and seconded, but in a sense as well, I don't necessarily see it as a piecemeal either, though. Obviously we have the priorities, and I know we can continue to have the discussion and debate, but I think at the end of the day, it's all related back to timing. And I think that's the main valid point here. Okay, so I'm going to draw the conversation. I think it's been thorough enough. Obviously, we have more work to do, and to make sure that we're getting to what Nathan is referring to in terms of that plan of action. But it's been moved and seconded on this particular motion. I'm going to close the question and comments and go to a vote. All in favor?
Favor.
Favor.
I'm in favor, Melba.
Okay, thank you. All opposed, or any opposed?
Mark, it's Wendy. I'm opposed, and just note, it's just because I wish this actually went back for a little bit more due diligence and rationale on why the truck is a priority over the other, and the money can't be used as seed to do something. So I just wish we would have taken that little bit of time, but so I'm opposed right now. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that, Wendy. It's been noted Wendy's opposed, as well as Michelle. That's all.
Ethan here, just
sorry.
similar reasons. I kind of wanted a little bit more discussion on this, but yeah, I'm not opposed to getting the fire department what they need, but it's just the approach and having a little bit more time and discussion around it. So
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that, Nathan, for your comments as well. So motion did carry with those two oppositions. Sorry, just wanted to clarify, Nathan, you were still voting in favor, is that correct?
no, I'm gonna oppose.
Okay, my apologies. So that's 3 and 3. It looks like a tie based upon the vote. And in this case, obviously, in my role as chair, we'll look to break that tie. And again, I hear both sides completely and understand, how, the approach to the timing to, it's still obviously, again, for me, we have to get back to the table as soon as possible and come up with that plan of action for this building, which I think has been, the generator of priority out of this motion discussion. But at this point in time, for me, I'm going to vote in favor of the motion, just in relation to the point of timing and the queue of timing those pieces. So that will, again, break the tie on this, and myself of voting in favor, but with the comment of, that we need to get together soon, ASAP rather, and really get the plan of action for this new building and how we're going to get that done as quickly as possible as well. So I will
Mel-
look to.
Melba?
Oh,
Can I
sorry.
just say,
Go ahead, Melba.
yeah, it's unfortunate that we have such dysfunction within our community, and I know that they would make it a priority. Ashley has already said that he would get together with Darren, and no doubt it'll come back to corporate and emergency. So Hazel has mentioned security, and I think that needs to be increased in some manner. She's mentioned a high fence, so or else we may have this happen wherever it is because of our drug situation here and other related problems of trauma and mental illness and all those things that allow for people to think in a direction that interferes with our safety and well-being. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mel, for your comments. And again, to actionize this item, it most likely will be the same turnout for the second portion of this motion, which is the waiving of second reading. So looking to mover and seconder on the waiving of second reading.
I'll move.
And I'll second it, Melba.
Okay, thanks. Moved by Hazel and seconded by Melba to waive second reading. All of those who are in favor.
Favor.
In favor, Melba.
And all of those who are opposed.
Aye.
Okay, that's Michelle, I believe same opposition. Wendy, Nathan. My apologies, sorry, I'm getting hands raised. I'm just going to continue. I've finished the vote of breaking the tie to vote in favor for the motion to waive second reading to complete this, rather actionize this more quickly. The motion's carried. I'll look to Ashley, hand raised.
Yeah, just a very quick comment, Mark. I just want to, whether we make note of this at this point, this may come back to this meeting again, just based on delivery times. If we do move forward, simply because we would need to hold on to the funds until it's actually delivered. So I just want to kind of, maybe if it's necessary to show that we may end up having this, have this be deferred one more time if we haven't received a vehicle within the period of time allowed for the minor capital.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that note, Ashley. And again, that's just in relation to the process wise of the within the fiscal. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thanks for that, Ashley. Okay, Council, I'm going to continue to move along here. We've again had a really good, thorough discussion and look forward to our next discussion in relation to getting that building fixed and completed to the standards it needs to be. So whether it can finishing the due diligence pieces on the land issues and so forth. So do look forward to those conversations and how we could quickly actionize getting that building repaired, or what we're going to do in the end. I'm going to continue moving along. So thank you, Ashley, for joining us this morning for this item. The next item that we have on our agenda is in relation to the Six Nations Natural Gas partnership in terms of the contribution, which is a presentation by our CFO, Anna Cecile. You have the floor. My apologies. Just want to check in with Anna Cecile to make sure you're off of mute.
Morning, everyone. Just to bring up this information, it's a very short one. We have partnered with Six Nations Gas in order to provide support to the community members. This contribution has been made from the COVID funds that we have received during fiscal year 2022, and we're providing the community with a total support for the bill, I think from May, for 200,000 in total. Just a sec. So we have benefit 2,334 families with a credit of around just over $80 for the month of May on the bills. They will either have received the bill during late last week, or they will receive it shortly. Again, it's an effort that we're putting towards helping people during these times of COVID and to relieve the economic suffering of that this pandemic has brought. So we just want to bring this to your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anna Cecile. And I think again, this is a contribution to assist our members. As we know, we've been having discussions around delivery charges of natural gas and how we get creative in looking to lower those, so obviously can lower the bills of our members. So again, those discussions are ongoing and more work happening on that front, but this, I think, is just more or less for an interim and to show our members we are looking at this item. It was for the month of May. This would be a cost. If we have to look to bring this back to do it again, say for example in the winter months, until we can get to the bigger picture of solution to the increased cost of delivery and so forth. So just wanted to make those notes as well. Are there any questions or comments in relation to this item? Michelle?
Thanks. So this is strictly for natural gas customers. What about individuals who do not have natural gas or utilize propane?
Yes, so it has only been addressed for these families and residents. We can take a look to see how we can contribute from other ends.
Okay, because I anticipate that question will arise because everybody doesn't utilize or have access to natural gas on the territory, right? And I think of Highway 54.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Michelle, in looking at across the board in terms of fairness. I do appreciate that. So we'll wait for Anna Cecile to bring back, that, because I know this item was just in really out of the discussion of natural gas bills, really. But we could definitely look to that piece. I think that's a great point, so that we're again assist across the board and fairness. Is there any further questions or comments for Anna Cecile on this item? Okay, thanks. Thanks for presenting this item, Anna Cecile. Again, this is for council's information. I know also, have put this, on our radio update and so forth in communication. So I do appreciate the work on this item, and it looks like there's a little bit more work to bring back for the item raised by Michelle. I'm going to continue moving along. I don't think we necessarily need a motion for this. It's just more or less for an update by virtue of update. So that leads us into our next portion of the agenda, which is scheduling. I know it's been coming up, lately a lot in relation to, events happening in person now. And so there's a lot of invitations coming through the office. And so just trying to make as many as I can, as well as looking for any assistance from any counselors, and do appreciate obviously those counselors who have stepped in and already attended some of these types of events that we have that we're getting invitations to. So the first one, I'll look to a motion to attend the Speaking of Fire. This one's the Onondaga Fire Station grand opening. And again, we've had a few of the discussion points on these invitations. So I will look to myself to attend the first one on June 18th from 10:30 until noon. Is there a mover or seconder to this effect?
I'll move it, Cecil.
Moved by Melba, seconded by Hazel. Are there any questions, comments? I think, just a note on this comment, I think this could even further help our advocacy in relation to, fire stations in the county getting built, and the importance of these to help further advocate for funding for our local fire station 3 funding. So just wanted to note these grand openings of these fire halls as well, and make comment on that. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any further questions or comments? Okay, seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Favor.
Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. I'm going to continue just going down the list here, so I will need some assistance from other counselors if their schedule permits. The next one is in relation to the Keynesville Fire Station, another grand opening on June 25th. Again, these all came from the county of Brant. So I have already had prior commitments on this weekend, so I will look to a delegate, looking to see if anyone's interested to attend this event. So I just look to give it a minute to check your schedules. Not sure if anyone is available to attend that day, or if need be, we can also just send our regrets. But just trying to make sure we get as much of these events in.
Hey, Chief, I'm available on the 25th.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Do appreciate that. Nathan, is there a mover and seconder for Nathan to attend this grand opening in Keynesville?
I'll move.
Moved by Michelle. Seconder?
I'll second it, Melba.
Second by Malva. Thank you. All in favor?
Favor.
Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. The next one under scheduling is Meet the Artist Gallery opening. Looking to, this is again in Simcoe, looking for a delegate as well. So if we could look to keep your schedules open, and if anyone is available to attend this event. Again, I think I have a conflicting schedule for myself. So looking to see if there's any interest or availability for a counselor to attend.
What date was that, Mark?
June 8th.
Oh, June 8th.
Yep, so quite quick. I know, I understand. It's coming up fast. It's this Wednesday. And again, it's okay if we don't have availability. We just want to make sure that we brought this to the council so that if there is any availability, we would get a delegate there. If there isn't, we will just send our regrets.
That's B&I date for us for meetings.
Okay, this is actually an evening. Just wanted to clarify, an evening event starts at 7 p.m. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised or availability on this item, so I will look to our staff to respond back with sending our regrets for this piece. I'm going to move on to the next one, which is a local event to our Six Nations Polytechnic in Brantford. The celebration and the graduate, actually this is for myself. I believe it was already included in my schedule. I just need a motion to attend. Looking to a mover and seconder for myself. And if anyone else is obviously interested as well, can definitely attend. It starts at 11 a.m. June 15th, moved by Michelle.
And I'll be
Seconder.
there as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. Is there a seconder to that?
I'll second
second.
Hazel.
Second by Hazel. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. The Brantford Sports Hall of Recognition induction ceremony. So this is again another evening event. Again, quick, this upcoming Wednesday. It's at 6:30 p.m. This is just to, I believe, you'll just have to present an award or quick welcoming remarks. This is happening at the Best Western in Brantford. So I am looking, I do have a conflicting meeting on that date as well. So I will look to a delegation, or rather delegate to go. Is there any interest or availability for this event? Okay, maybe what I can do as well is extend this to possibly even Cheryl. Maybe one of our directors will be able to attend, just based upon I'm not hearing any availability for counselors. So I'll look to make one more reach out to our staff on this one. And if not available on staff level, we'll respond and send our regrets. Okay, council, that does finish up. Just wanted to confirm, Hazel, was there any new business items?
No, there was not.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Hazel. So that does complete our agenda for the open session of general finance. I will look at this point to a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
I'll
Hazel.
second.
Moved by Hazel, seconded by Michelle to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motion is carried. Well, thank you to everybody now for tuning in this morning for general finance. I hope you all have a great start to your week. Take care and have a great day.